Podcasting live at the time we recorded it. From the studios in downtown Gulfport, Florida, it's WGAB, the Gabcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to WGAB, the Gabcast, a Gabber newspaper production. I'm Patrick Hines, the news and politics reporter for the Gabber, and today I'm here with...
I am Kathy Celestri, currently the editor-in-chief, always the publisher of the Gabber newspaper. How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing good. It's been a long day, but fun. Tuesdays are long. We do good, though. And...
You're doing God's work, Patrick.
Well, reading through pages, we're talking about a pretty interesting story going on the beach. And it's not a new story for this year, especially. I mean, what we're talking about is the Tradewinds resort just got approved for a new redevelopment project. And it's pretty big, but St. Pete Beach is no stranger to this kind of thing. The Serrata redevelopment is in the works, and all kinds of things are down the pipeline for this year for St. Pete Beach. But this is a big one. I mean, they're talking about almost 70,000 square feet of new space. 600 hotel rooms, 3 new 12-story towers. It's a big deal. And
it's a sandbar. I can't imagine that, even though the commission approved it, I can't imagine that everybody on St. Pete Beach is behind it.
I mean, the commission was split. It was a 3-2 decision, and both Mayor Petrilla and Commissioner Betty Riznicki. I'm sorry. I hope Riznicki, yes.
Riznicki.
I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They both disagreed with it, or at least voted against approving the permit, but...
Pretty good indication they disagree.
Yes.
Why did they vote against it?
For various reasons. I know that kind of the vibe I got from watching it was they both kind of feel like the city's rushing into this kind of thing. They feel that Commissioner Riznicki brought up how normally with this kind of thing, they do a lighting survey for sea turtles to see if it's compliant to codes, and normally this is done on before the plan is put in place, and there had been no survey done for this. And the mayor was like, well, this needs to be put in code, and what do we do with the old buildings on there? Are we going to bring those up to code as well? What's going to happen? All these kinds of things where it's like, it definitely seemed like they were disagreeing, because when you look at the plan, it's, yeah, we're going to build these new towers, and we're going to redevelop this and add all this. What about all the stuff surrounding that? How are you going to make sure that it's up to code, hurricane compliant? The rest of the property is hurricane compliant.
But all Betty was asking about, Betty Riznicki, I don't know her, I just can't pronounce her name. She was just asking about lighting for sea turtles.
Yes.
So, but that, if I may, that's not a horribly complex change. It's not like saying you have to change out all your windows, and that can cost $50,000 in a private home.
Yeah.
It's not like saying you have to change all your windows out for hurricane compliance. It's literally putting a different color bulb. So I go down...
what they're planning on is putting film on the windows, so it doesn't... That's the plan for right now. But
I do, as I'm the editor, I should be impartial, and I am impartial about some things, but I'm not impartial about the environment. I mean, I do feel like there's some very easy fixes there, and that's it's a big one.
Absolutely. The meeting started at 6 on Tuesday and ended on Wednesday. It was a very long meeting.
This reminds me of my days reporting on St. Pete Beach Commission. But you weren't there, were you?
I was there for a little bit.
And then you go home and watch it?
Yeah, I went home and watched it because I wasn't going to stay till midnight.
Talk to me when you stay till 2 a.m.
Yeah, but I stay till 3 a.m. in Gulfport because that's like...
that's reality TV in Gulfport anymore.
That kind of thing about just the sea turtle lighting, over the 6 hours, there were a bunch of little things like that was just reasons to think twice. And I think that what Petrilla and Betty were saying was, we need to think twice about this before we approve it.
It's not like the rates, it's not like cost of goods, it's not like the cost of borrowing money are so low right now that it has to happen right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if the commission were to say we need to think twice, it's going to take a few months, I don't see the interest rates going too much higher. I mean, everybody's hoping that everything starts to normalize. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. I don't understand the rush. What is the rush? Did you get a sense of that?
Not really. I think something that was brought up by earlier in the meeting prior to this discussion by a member of the public who was there just for an audience comment. He brought up how there's multiple pending lawsuits against the city and possibly more to come. And he feels like the reason he feels like the reason there's so many lawsuits is because they're almost inviting lawsuits so that records can be stalled and we can say, okay, we have all these things going. Let's just get things done quickly.
You know, it is this weird thing. So going back to my time as a reporter at the paper, there have been lawsuits. Wow. I mean, it's not like...
Back on a typewriter, yeah?
Yeah, back on the days of the typewriter and the smoke signals and the abacus. It was amazing. We had to chisel the pictures.
Yeah.
But they had lawsuits against St. Pete Beach then. Like, I know their tagline on their logo is the Sunset Capital of Florida. I really feel like it's the lawsuit capital of Florida. It's exhausting, and it's a lot to report on. I commend you.
I think right now they have 18 lawsuits, and that's...
I don't even want one.
I think that there's more on the way. But I think that one of the things is the commissioners that are voting for these things are, I mean, the whole commission is new, other than the mayor, because of what happened last year.
Because everybody resigned when the government said you had to declare all your assets, yes.
But I know that the mayor, at the time of appointment, wasn't happy about Commissioner in District 2, Nick Philts.
Not up to the mayor.
I agree.
Up to the voters.
But there seems to be some sort of animosity between some of the commission, not totally dissimilar to...
Well, that is unheard
not
of.
totally dissimilar to Gulfport.
What? Sacre bleu.
But I know that it's been a very difficult time for Mayor Petrilla to be the only surviving member of the commission on a very short turnaround with pending lawsuits and massive redevelopment projects and all of this. And he's the one who's experienced and has been here through this. When
experienced, he's been here a year. Okay,
the other ones have been here for
okay, but you know what?
months.
I would not want to be the new city manager up on that dais every week.
There's a new city manager.
There's a new city manager every other month, it feels like.
According to the same public comment resident, there's a very corrupt city attorney. I mean, he, to his face, called him corrupt, and that was a whole thing at the meeting. But
well, you're going to have to read the Gabber for that. You go to thegabber.com, pick up an issue. If you don't know where to find an issue, go to thegabber.com. There's get your Gabber, click on that link. But this is all, it's amazing. It's like the same song, different day.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like trauma triggering me. So anyway, thank you for being there because, and I'll end this with saying this. There's been a situation in Grove Island in Miami.
yeah.
And somebody online today on Twitter said, well, how did this happen? Well, I'll tell you how it happened. The Miami Herald used to have reporters at every city hall from Vero Beach to Key West. And as the newsrooms shrink, nobody's holding people accountable. So I appreciate that you're here and we can help you live. And in exchange for that, you go to these meetings that nobody else seems to care about. And we do it without agenda. We don't know. None of us live on St. Pete Beach. None of us really care if it's the Tradewinds or a holiday.
I live in St. Pete, and I don't go to St. Pete commission meetings, so
they're a council. Don't wish for it.
Council.
No, I mean, so at least we're one corner of the United States where we're still doing this on a very small scale. So it's important, and thank you.
And I will say that to kind of leave it on a positive note, this redevelopment brings a lot of new space. There's recreation space for residents and visitors. There's pools. We covered it previously. It's not part of this redevelopment project, but there's a brand new rooftop terrace that's going up that's going to be 360 views of the beach, bar and food. There's going to be a lot coming to the Tradewinds that'll bring people there, and people can have fun and enjoy the development despite the issues surrounding it.
Well, we shall see.
Yes. But what we shall see right now is everybody's favorite segment, Kathy with the Cop. coming up next on WGAB, the Gabcast.
And while Patrick gives his seat over to the chief of police, we want to take this moment to thank our new podcast sponsor, Gulfport Winehouse. They are sponsoring the podcast. We come here every Tuesday for, the podcast. But before the podcast, we came here for Taco Tuesday. And, of course, their wines. I wish I hadn't been so quick to eat their snack cuterie that comes on top of your wine glass.
But if you check our Gabber Life Instagram, you'll be able to see a cute little photo of that.
Adorbs.
Yeah.
All right.
As long as Cam posts it.
Let's get the chief on here.
Yes. Come on in, Chief.
The Gabber newspaper? Yeah, we go there.
We're back with the segment whose name I hate, Kathy with a Cop. You know, once I had a cop tell me that the word cop was offensive. He said,
I've heard a lot worse offensive comments besides that one.
Simpler times. Simpler times. They said, it stands for citizen on patrol, ma'am. Do I look like a citizen to you? I'm like, I don't know. You've got a gun. I'm very sorry.
Well, it seems to be always me, so you could rename it Kathy with the Chief.
Kathy with the chief would be better. But what if you leave?
Well, somebody else will be the chief.
What if they don't want to come talk to me?
I'm sure they will.
No, I think you
Then you would have to shame them into it.
You overestimate how delightful I am. So the Winehouse is our sponsor. We'd love to get you a glass of wine, but I assume you are on duty and we cannot do that.
What time is it?
It's not 5 o'clock yet. It is after 4.
So you got to wait a half hour.
We will get you one after you are off duty because you are a responsible chief.
Absolutely.
Hey, some stuff happened today.
Today?
I mean, today, the past couple of days.
Oh, not in Gulfport.
No,
Okay.
not in Gulfport. Gulfport,
I thought I missed it.
for the moment, knock on wood, remains this isolated hamlet that most things don't touch. And I'm really super happy about that.
Yes.
But I guess today they arrested a student at Lakewood High School for having a gun.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Well, you're not the newspaper.
Huh?
And it didn't happen on your watch, so it's good. But it led to some conversations. Like, this is now de rigueur, right? Like, this is what happens at schools. What are we doing in Gulfport? We have an elementary school and we have a middle, we have a elementary school, we have a specialty school, we have a high school. I don't want you to speak to things that would make it easier for someone to do something bad, but how do you even deal with that? I mean, a lot of times those people who walk in with guns are not grown-ups. And I know what's out there, and I know there are bad cops. I do not believe I have ever met a bad cop in Gulfport.
Hope not.
No, I mean, I've met a few who are no longer with us who I thought maybe had just gotten burned out, but I didn't think they were bad. But it's hard for any cop to deal with that if they do have to pull the trigger on somebody who's a kid. I mean, the person who showed up with it was a former student. They were 19, came back on campus, but 19 is still very young.
Yeah.
So you walk us through what you tell your officers, how they're trained. God forbid this happens. What's the aftermath? What is that like? Because I mean, the shooting is horrible, but the officers, it's suicide by cop.
So, yeah, you're talking about the unfortunate possibility that every officer has to imagine might come up, and that is, am I ever going to have to use deadly force? And I say have to because nobody gets into this job wanting to do that.
God, I hope not.
And, we prepare as best we can physically to make sure we're in shape to do our job every day, but you also have to be prepared mentally. And that's the part that's the hardest. You can run the scenario through your head every time, they call it brain training, for when it might occur. Unfortunately, none of us know how we'll react until we're in the situation. So we put a lot of effort into making sure they're prepared for that eventuality in case it has to come up.
What does that
And
look
we have, well, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Colonel Dave Grossman.
I have not.
He does a program called The Bulletproof Mind, and that training is specifically oriented towards soldiers and law enforcement who may, at some point, have to do that unfortunate responsibility. They may have to use deadly force. So he prepares them for how you get your mindset so that you can do it if you have to do it. You're still going to have to deal with the guilt, but you don't want to delay. a delay could cost somebody their life, an innocent person. We saw that at the school in Texas. Yeah, Uvalde. We don't want anyone who is put in that position of responsibility to protect people to have that mental breakdown between, what they need to do and what they do. So it's an 8-hour training block that they go through, and they go over the differences between physiological response to dealing with something like that versus the physical response. Like, how is your brain going to respond when that actually comes up, and what you can do to get yourself physically prepared to make sure you're ready to do it. So it's, in Gulfport, all of the schools have sworn law enforcement. There are places, in fact, in Gulfport, that's the only city in the county where all of the schools have them. And that was a commitment that I made and our city council made to make sure that that was the case.
So I don't want to invite bad luck, and I am a little superstitious, but say the worst happens. Say somebody walks onto a school campus with a gun and is intent on killing children and teachers, and one of your officers who is there and any backups who respond have to fire their weapons, and they kill the gunman. What does the next day look like?
Well, that's a very tough question, because we work not just on an island here in Gulfport. Pinellas County is very well prepared for such a thing. Our sheriff led the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission. That group, what their work did, translated into the law, which now requires every school in the entire state to have a response plan, an active assailant response plan. And so we're the model here in Pinellas County. And we've had a few drills, we've had a few fake calls where we've put that plan to the test, and it's worked. If in Gulfport, we're small, we maybe have 4 or 5 people on duty, and it's going to take more than 4 or 5 people to deal with a situation like that. But if we have 4 or 5 St. Pete officers show up, 4 or 5 deputy sheriffs show up, guess what? We're all going to work together because we all know how, and we've all practiced it, and we all have the same policy and procedures. But it doesn't end that day or even that minute. The moment you take the threat down, there's still so much left to do, not only for reuniting victims with their family, for making sure there's no secondary devices anywhere or an additional shooter. All of that has to be done. But then, like you said, the next day, is everyone going to go back to school? What about, is everyone going to go back to school at all the other schools around in the region? All of those are decisions that have to be made by the people in charge of the facilities in consultation with the security experts to make sure that the threat is resolved, to make sure that, the other students, the teachers who were close with any victims are mentally prepared to go back to doing the business of education. So, yeah, there's absolutely a lot of work. But the thing I want to emphasize is all of that, as much preparation as is possible, we've done it here. We're as ready as we can be.
Well, I hope it never, and I think everybody's hope in every city across the United States is that you never have to think about, was I prepared enough? Like, right. Hopefully we never get to day 2. That's the goal. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Before we go, I want to just touch on briefly, we're seeing some protests across the United States. And without talking about Muslim versus Jew, Israel versus Palestine, what's the police responsibility during a protest, during a civil protest?
Well, it depends on where it is. If it's on private property, like most of these seem to be on university property, it's mostly
wait. Are those private property? They're state schools.
Yeah, but they're still considered private. I mean, the authority of the university president dictates what the surrounding jurisdiction law enforcement can do. In other words, take USF, for example. In Tampa, they would have to invite the Hillsborough Sheriff or the Tampa Police Department to come in to disrupt a event. Otherwise, it's up to the university police. So
legally, universities are not public property, they're private property, even if they're funded by the state.
Yeah, there are a lot of places like that. You know, you could have a publicly funded hospital. You just can't allow people wandering in and out whenever they want. Military bases are public. People can't come
Fair.
on anytime they want. Prisons, etc. I mean, not to compare a university to a prison, although sometimes it might have
It
felt
can
like
feel
that.
that way. I remember my first year.
But yeah, they have authority to decide who can come and go and what kind of rules apply on the campus that may not necessarily apply on public property. So, you know, if it's on public property, you know, like take a city park, for example, then it becomes our responsibility to enforce the existing rules. And
Right,
if they
right.
can,
So we don't, to be clear, in Gulfport, we don't have a university. So we're talking about city parks, the library, city hall, the beach.
right.
I just want to make, you can finish what you're saying, but I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Well, Stetson Law School is unique because it's interspersed with public property.
But that's a private school.
Yeah, it's completely private, but there are a lot of public properties in and amongst the different buildings. So they could have something there. But anyway, in Gulfport, say, for example, if somebody wanted to protest in a park, as long as they're not breaking any of the existing rules, you know, you're not setting up temporary structures, you're not violating the noise ordinance, you're not obstructing other people from using facilities, things like that, more power to you.
All right. Well, Chief, thanks for
Sure.
coming on the podcast again.
Of course.
I'm going to be gone most of May, so you get a reprieve.
Maybe I'll host it. And
Do
I'll
you want
find
to come
somebody
host
to bring.
it? You should do that. People would love that.
I'll bring the fire chief and explain why everyone wants to be a firefighter, including the cops.
They have better calendars.
Mm.
All right. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Have a great day. Thanks, Chief.
Of course, thank you.
Did you know, in 1968, our founder, George Brand, started the Gabber newspaper, then called the Gulfport Gabber, to hold Gulfport City Council accountable. Read more of our City Council coverage and learn about our policies on reporting, fact-checking, and funding. Visit thegabber.com.
Welcome back, guys. It's me, Kathy. Just kidding. It's obviously your favorite person, Cameron. I am back and better than ever. And I am here to talk about our lovely segment on skateboarding.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. So, yesterday, for me, it was yesterday. I don't know when you guys are going to see this, but April 29th, Tampa Bay Rays unveiled their City Connects Grit and Glow uniforms for the season.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this City Connect thing is about connecting the city with the sport. So what they went for, instead of what you think of Florida as, is this tropical oasis that you can go to from your cold, snowy,
Miserable lives.
yeah, like you're coming to Florida. No, they did this whole thing where
Not the
it's
snowbirds are gone.
they pay a tribute to the street art and skateboarding culture and history of Tampa Bay, which was super interesting because Tampa Bay actually has a lot of firsts for skateboarding
Yeah,
culture
definitely.
in like the country. Like it was wild to read about this stuff. So basically let me just give you a rundown of what these uniforms look
Yeah,
like.
go
So
ahead.
they're all black. They're all black, but they have like this like gradient green, blue, and purple colors going through the whole jerseys, uniform, hats, just on the seams of
Yeah.
it. And then also the words have like flames and then like those
Yeah.
colors going through them.
Right on the top, it
So
looks like it's
sick.
burning off.
Yeah,
So
like
cool.
I think that looks cool, and I feel like that just gives the skateboarding vibe as well. Like I
Yeah.
feel like flames are cool.
But it's not just black.
No,
Like,
it's like
patterned.
it's like this. It almost looks like spray paint. Like they were kind of going for the street art part of the graffiti.
To me, it
and
looks like grip tape on a skateboard.
they do have that. So that's also on there. That's not what the black is, though.
I know, but it,
on
like,
there,
it has the vibe.
They do have that. Isn't that
Yeah.
so sick?
It's so
when I
cool.
saw that, I was like, genius. Who else would have thought of that? I don't know. But basically, they have under the baseball hat will have the texture of skateboarding grip tape, and then on the back of their jerseys for their numbers will also be the same grip tape, and so that's insane. But then they also did their logo to be a manta ray with the Skyway as its head, and it looks really sick, and it has all the colors too, all the bright, vibrant colors. But then they also have on here another manta ray, which is on the hip and the back of the shirt. It's a ray skateboarding,
so cool.
and it's doing it's this really hard skateboarding trick, which is called the stale fish, and that's when you literally, guys, you go like this. Hold
There's
this.
no way.
You go like this in the air, whoa, grab the board, and then you get back down and you land. I don't know if I was in it, but that's literally what it does. And so it's really hard to master. Like, apparently Tony Hawk had like practiced a lot.
Yeah.
He is legendary. So that's the cutest. I think it's cute because it's like a manta ray doing skateboarding, but it's also so clever to like
Yeah, definitely.
put those two together, because like you would never like think baseball and skateboarding go together. I personally wouldn't.
Well, I think it's really interesting because, like you were talking about with the Skyway, with the manta ray, it kind of brings attention to like the Tampa Bay Rays are in St. Pete, not Tampa. Like, I know that it's a regional thing, but like with the Skyway, that's a St. Pete thing.
Yeah.
The stadiums, I remember my friends were here and they were like, "Oh, that's the Rays stadium. Why isn't it in Tampa? Aren't they the Tampa team?" I'm like, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But I also think it's really cool bringing the skate culture in, because you went to a skate park yesterday.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
in the shadow of the stadium. You took
Yeah.
a really beautiful photo of it as the sun was going down. And it's like they're paying homage to a pretty under talked about part of Tampa Bay history.
They considered it an underground culture in the area. So if you guys also didn't know, there is this skate park. It's called the St. Pete Regional Skate Park across the interstate from Tropicana, and it's huge. It actually has a 12-foot deep skate bowl, which is supposedly one of the deepest skate bowls in shut up, in the like southeast. I think that's something that the skate park is super proud of, and it's insane. I honestly couldn't imagine doing that, but that's just me.
Imagine like a normal like public pool, like the deep end is like 12
Oh
feet.
yeah.
Imagine going down
And you're just
going down a random
right?
normal public pool. That's
No.
crazy.
So it's actually a really sick skate park, and what they also they made a promotional video for this, and they took a bunch of the footage at that skate park, but they also went to this like Tampa skate park, which is called the Bro Bowl. It's at Perry Harvey Senior Park in Tampa, and it's one of the most historic skate parks in Florida. It was actually the first public skate park in the state, and Bro Bowl opened in 1978, and it covers about 17,000 square feet of this park,
insane.
which is huge. Like most skate parks you will find like just at a regular park next to like the basketball court or something. It will be something smaller, like 2 ramps, maybe a rail. That is huge.
So
it's one of the first in the state, and there was a lot of controversy with like the city getting rid of it or not. And the people of the skateboarding world were like, no. Petitions a bunch for like, I think it was about close to 10 years ago. It was maybe 2016, I think. And they actually got the city to not get rid of it, but
didn't they make it like a historical monument?
So they they also with the petition were able to get this skate park to be one of the first skate parks to join the National Register of Historic Places, and it's one of the oldest and last remaining skate parks of the 70s.
That's really incredible, because now it's like kind of protected by the city, and like
it's really sick to think about that we as an area, Tampa Bay, had such an impact on like skateboarding and that culture.
I think of like
California.
the Midwest and California.
Like I don't really think of like, I didn't know that personally.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize. So, but I also found out that they paid, what is it? Pay homage? Homage.
Yeah.
However, they also did that to the skate park of Tampa, which is also called the Spot. And that is actually one of the most recognized globally skate parks. It's an indoor skate park that used to be a warehouse. and it was.
I'm just hearing it. I feel like I've seen it on TikTok.
Oh yeah, no, it's
Like-
it's incredibly
Yeah.
known, and it's super famous. And it was, I think, opened in the 90s, so it's still like 30 years about. But
I mean, you think about how old skate culture is. That's
absolutely,
that's as old as like the peak of skate culture.
Yeah, so it's like very well known and attributed definitely throughout the uniforms. They said that too. They said there's a pelican design next to 3 palm trees that attribute the history marker of Perry Harvey Senior Park, which is where Bro Bowl is. So that's awesome. But yeah, they just talked about how those two link together and how there's been five decades of skate park and skateboarding culture in Tampa Bay, and that it's not as recognized. It's underground.
Yeah.
And it's like undermined, honestly.
Well, I think a lot of people, when they think about skate culture, they associate it with counterculture or like, and it is to an extent, but when you think about it, it's a sport, it's an art, it's a community.
Absolutely.
It goes with fashion and music and everything that you can consider to be part of a overarching culture. Skate culture has that.
Oh yeah.
It's such a huge part of recent American history and world history, and it's branching everywhere.
Yeah.
People know about skate culture, and it's becoming so important, and yet it's still one of those things that isn't like talked about, or the history of it isn't recognized in the same way that it should be. And I think that something like this is really cool because as a person who's a fan of sports, and I'm always interested to see alternate uniforms, and especially like in the NBA when they do city uniforms and they like go and do something for their city. There's something that's really cool that pays homage to a legitimate, important historical part of the city that is not being talked about.
Exactly. So that's why I thought it was really interesting that there was even this connection and that they were promoting it and having a whole event. They even had like a mini skate demonstration outside of Tropicana yesterday, and a bunch of people were there. The team store was open for everybody to like get the new merch and stuff, and Raymond the mascot was there wearing the merch. Some players were too, but you know,
I want to get one of those.
They get all the
jerseys.
credit.
Those jerseys are really cool. Or just the hat.
I think the
hat
logo's
with the grip
sick.
tape. That would be so cool.
Oh yeah, that would be so cool. But yeah, so it's really sweet to see this kind of history be recognized, because I feel like a lot of people wouldn't think of that. But
I think people are like, skating is too pop culture.
Yeah,
when in reality, there's like the mix between skating being connected pop culture and also being very historical.
It's also like a sport that I think people don't always recognize as a sport. Like
anybody who doesn't think skateboarding is a sport, I dare you to just try an ollie. just try a single ollie.
Try a kickflip real quick.
Good luck.
Tell me if you can do it.
Go down a 2-foot ramp
and see how
then
you do.
tell me that it's not a sport.
Yeah, no, that's literally what they said in their design reasonings. They said that the skating ray was to illustrate the grit it takes to land a stale fish, which I showed you, or square up to a 100 miles per hour fastball. Like takes a lot to like want to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It takes a lot of practice, both sports.
Yeah,
and
go stand on top of the 12-foot dome, look down, and go down it, and then I'll respect your opinion. When you go down that, I'll respect your opinion.
Like, I couldn't imagine trying to get out once you fall.
You just run all the way up.
You have to do that
like
little
American
circle
Ninja
thing
Warrior.
when you get up. Yeah. You're like, going up the walls. No. So it was really cool to see that connection and have a little special part of St. Pete and Tampa be a part of a sport.
I hope it brings more recognition to a very historical part of Tampa. And
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah,
I had fun. I went and checked out some
you
of the
took a
skate
really
parks.
cool picture.
So,
I like the picture a lot.
right?
Yeah.
It was sick. So guys, go check out your local skate parks.
And check out this week's Gabber and next week's Gabber and last week's Gabber, the Gabber after that.
And the Gabber after that week and the week after that and for the rest of your life.
Kathy doesn't love us, so we're going to be doing the Gabber from like this whole month.
Yeah, Kathy decided, I'm leaving, but she's doing stuff.
It's fine. Whatever.
It's fine.
Anyways, thank you so much for listening to and watching this week's Gabcast. I'm Patrick. This is Cam, and we're very happy to be your host. So we hope you have a good rest of your day, and thank you again for watching WGAB, the Gabcast.
Bye.